Hey everybody, and welcome to the live show. I'm glad you're with me here. Usually we do this on Sunday, but I got to tell you, it's been so busy the last few Sundays with Mother's Day and traveling for myself. We haven't been able to get the show going at this regular time. So I thought because it's a long weekend, I would push it off to Monday and let you guys have at it and ask some questions. Next weekend, unfortunately, not going to be able to do it again because I'm leaving on, what day am I leaving? Saturday. I'm going to Austria with Porsche for their Cayenne Coupe. So just like everything out there, they take a regular model and they make it a little sleeker and they call it a coupe. So I'll be doing that. Just back from Mercedes, there's the EQC. That's the Mercedes EQC, which is their first electric utility, first electric vehicle. And the video is online now. What else is on? The BMW X5 just went live on Saturday. It's getting a lot of views, a lot of interest in the X5. Now, I'm getting a chance to drive the X7, so I'm taking that back tomorrow and then swapping it out for the X7, which will be very interesting to drive. Not so much to drive, but to look at because it really is really quite blingy. So I was in Norway for the launch of the EQC, and you see my map behind me. So it's time to put on a pin because I've been to Sweden and stuff, but Oslo, there it is on the map. Put a pin in it, as they say. So yeah, been to Sweden several times, but yeah, now Oslo is on the map. So yeah, lots of different places. I was in China a few weeks ago, but I've already been to China, so there you go. All right, let's get into the question and answer. Thanks to everybody who's checking in today. And here's a question for our U.S. viewers. Is it a holiday in the U.S.? It's a holiday here in Canada. It's called Victoria Day. I'm not sure if you have a holiday today. I think you do. All right. First is Noah Sussman. Second is Ryan. CJ Marshall says, hey, Zach, when are you going to review the 3 Series? I have the 3 Series booked. Unfortunately, it's not until July, so I will be getting it. Chiquita Banana. Thank you for that. Ryan, is the 4Runner ever going to be redesigned? Yes, it will be eventually. Toyota is really kind of letting their body-on-frame trucks languish. The Tundra is outdated. The interior of that vehicle compared to vehicles like the Ram, which is so beautiful on the inside, is so dated. Sequoia as well. 4Runner, they all need to be updated. You think about that, 4Runner is running on the old 4-liter V6, which is actually a better engine than the D4S 3.5 liter that's used in the Tacoma, but it uses way more fuel. So yeah, it's more responsive. I'm trying to remember now, is it a 5-speed automatic? I think it might be. This is all from memory, but yeah, it definitely needs to be updated. Here's the thing is, there is absolutely no harm in getting one of these because the resale value on a Toyota 4Runner is through the roof. So even if you got one and drove it for a couple of years, you would have no problem ever selling one, and you're going to get so much money back when you get rid of it. Mo says, hey Zach, any information on the Hyundai Venue? No, I don't have anything that I can share with you that I know anyway. Pratik says, any plans of Skoda to enter Canada? Somebody else mentioned that, but I don't think so. With Volkswagen Group, you know, just focusing on the Volkswagen cars, I don't think Skoda would be coming to the Canadian market. Zaki says, most fun car you have ever driven? Well, it was almost exactly, excuse me, a year ago. I was in Munich a year ago. I was actually going to the Cayenne launch of the hybrid in France. And we stopped overnight in Munich, and I got a chance to drive the 911 GT3 Touring without the big wing on the back. And I spent the afternoon driving around the beautiful countryside of Germany in that car, and absolutely my favorite car. If I could, if I won the lotto, I would try and get one. They're not for sale anymore. I would get a GT3 Touring, and I would also get a Singer because I think they're beautiful cars too. What are your thoughts on e-Golf? Well, e-Golf is a great car. It's got about 200 kilometers of range, which is less than a lot of people think they need. But the reality is people are over buying electric cars. I've been going on and on about this. People are saying, oh, it's got to have 400 or 500 kilometers or 300 miles of range. And it's like, why? Why do you need that? For the average person, They're going to be doing maybe 50 to 150 kilometers a day, and 150 is on the way outside. People say, well, you know, once in a while I need to go on a longer trip. Well, if that's the case, take your other car if you have another car, or rent a car. If you really need to do a long trip, go to budget and get a Honda Civic. So there are options out there. But the e-Golf I like because, first of all, what are you starting with? You're starting with a great car. The Golf is a great car. It's very practical, perfectly utilized space on the inside. You give none of that up when you get the electric version of it. I was just in Norway, as I mentioned, for the EQC, the best-selling electric car in Norway, because over 50% of new vehicles sold in Norway are now electric. Bestseller is the Nissan Leaf. The second bestseller is e-Golf. So e-Golf, I think, is great. Now, e-Golf is going to be continued to be made this year, and then there will be a transition until they switch over to their new ID cars, and that will be happening within the year, and the car will be sold, the new electric car will be sold in Europe before it comes to North America. So yeah, ID is the family of Volkswagen electric cars. Here's the thing, if you are not in a rush, time is on your side. I said it many times, in the next 24 to 36 months, there's going to be so many new electric cars. For example, and I know this because I was just with Mercedes, they have 3 or 4 new electric vehicles that are going to be coming shortly based on the same sort of platform that they have here for the EQC. So yeah, the longer you wait, the more options you're going to have. Which has a more fun factor, Golf R or GTI? I did a whole video on this. The Golf R has more power. I mean, when you have, I think it's 80 more horsepower, and you've got the all-wheel drive, it's just more of a performance-oriented car. But if you're absolutely just looking at fun, I think that the GTI is more fun to drive every single day. It doesn't have as much power, but it feels lighter, more nimble, easier to toss around. It's a great product. So what I suggest is you try them and pick the one you like. There is no wrong answer. For me, I think a GTI is more fun. Have you driven the Supra yet? No, I have not. There's a select few people had a chance to go and drive it. I don't have any information or insight on if there's going to be a special event held for it. I would think so. The people that have driven it, when I was in Norway, one of the colleagues there from Auto Guide, Sammy, said that he had driven it and said it is fantastic. So we'll have to wait and see. So the reviews on the Supra in terms of driving, it is quite different than the BMW Z4. So yeah, the reviews so far of the way it drives have been actually quite favorable. Mac Daddy says, long time Zach, do you think Mini will survive in the United States? It's tough to say because what do we know about the auto industry? Everything's moving towards utility vehicles. And of course, Mini has the Countryman and yeah, that's their compact utility. But yeah, cars in general are diminishing. You might have heard the news that Volkswagen is getting rid of the Sportwagen. They're going to be focusing on GTI and Golf R, and there's rumors even if Golf is going to keep continuing here, generally just the Golf generally for the North American market. So yeah, it's going to be a question mark. Look at Fiat. The numbers of vehicles that Fiat sells, like the Fiat 500 range, is almost minuscule. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how can they reinvent that brand again. The biggest problem I have is when you see a Mini, you go, it has to look a certain way. And they're kind of locked in with that form factor, unfortunately. Okay, so Mac Daddy says it's Memorial Day next week in the US. So there you go. No holiday today. It's next week. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know all the US holidays. Of course, we have similar ones like Labor Day, of course. Shooter McGavin, question about the Honda Civic Sport. Premium recommended. Can I get away with regular gas long term? The car can adjust. I get this question a lot about, especially for those that are not aware, where I live in British Columbia, Vancouver has the highest gas prices ever recorded in North America. So gas prices here are $1.72 a liter. For premium gas, it's almost $2 a liter. I think in the United States, if that works out to over $6 a gallon, it's very, very expensive. So a lot of people are asking me, can I run my car on regular gas? You can do it. If it's recommended, then I would not do it indefinitely. What I would do is I would try it on the mid-grade. If you want to do a halfway measure, you could do that. But you probably should run it on premium every once in a while. The car can compensate for it, but the engine isn't designed for that, okay? So you're giving up some horsepower and also environmental impact. The car doesn't run as cleanly. Do you think that Toyota will make a RAV4 plug-in? I currently have the hybrid version and would love a plug-in, thanks. I think yes, I think that's the way it's going. And here's the thing, most people are best served to do what you've done, which is just to buy the hybrid model. The hybrid gives you amazing fuel efficiency for not much more. In Canada, it's about $1,400 more to get the hybrid version than the gas version. In the US, I think it's $800 or $900. It's very, very small to jump from the gas to the hybrid model. And if you're buying one of these, you'd be a fool not to get the hybrid, considering, especially on the West Coast, all the way down the West Coast right now, fuel prices are so high. But the thing is, you're going to pay so much more to get that plug-in. But the proof is the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV has been selling incredibly well. In the first year in the Canadian market, which is a small market, they sold over 6,000 PHEVs. They're the best-selling plug-in hybrid vehicle in the world, and it has been for a number of years. It is going to be updated in about a year or so, maybe 2 years it is going to be updated. So yeah, I think that they will have a plug-in coming because, yeah, they have the technology in Prius. They should be able to move it into that vehicle. Hi, Zach. Are interest rates when financing a car compounded monthly or annually? It's compounded, I believe it's monthly. I think that you pay your interest, you know, you have to look at what's called the APR, the annual interest rate. So you are accumulating interest. So you don't wait a year and then you pay interest all at once. It's an ongoing interest rate accumulation. CJ Marshall, Nissan Murano or Acura RDX? You could not get one that's more an apple and one that's more an orange. They're total apples and oranges. RDX is a almost 300 horsepower turbocharged 4-cylinder with a 10-speed automatic and a super handling all-wheel drive and quite dynamic vehicle to drive if you want to push it. The Murano is 3.5-liter V6 in continuously variable transmission, soft and quiet and smooth and relaxed. So what are you? Are you somebody that's motivated by handling and of being a little bit sportier, or want laid back driving your living room around in a comfortable, nice interior? Apples and oranges. You have to decide what you are. If you want the smooth, quiet, and comfortable and relaxed, the Murano will deliver that all day long. It is actually a good value in the marketplace. They've priced it quite aggressively. I think you can get a base model one for very little money. What's going on there? My light. What happened to my light? That happened last time. Can you guys hang on a second? This light is plugged in. Oh, maybe I didn't plug it in. Hang on, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Can you tell? I'm not the brightest bulb, but boom. Where's that switch? There it is. Come on, there you go. Wow. It's like the lights went out all of a sudden. Sorry about that. Get my microphone there. That's better. Any plans on driving the Supra? Yeah, I'd love to get my hands on the Supra. Now is it too bright? Maybe it is. Turn that down a bit. Sorry guys, you're getting the behind the scenes on how it's all put together here. This happened what, a month or two ago? Can't remember now. I plugged in my new LED light panel and the battery died partway through, and then I realized I could plug it in. So what did I do today? I turned it on, but I never plugged it in, so the battery did die. Would you suggest a CX-5 over a CR-V? Preferences are low running costs, handling, safety, and style. So low running costs, handling, safety, and style. Handling, I'd easily give the CX-5 the edge. Low running cost, I think it's probably a tie. Safety depends on which equipment you get. I think with the CX-5 you have to get a certain package in order to get the advanced safety feature. On the CR-V it comes as standard equipment. So it really comes down to which trim and package you're going to get. I would say that the interior of the CX-5 is head and shoulders above everybody in its class. I mean everybody. It has the nicest interior. So yeah, go and drive them both. There's been some issues with the 1.5 liter turbo in the CRV. I have no problem recommending that Mazda. Go and drive it and see what you like. Will you be reviewing the 2020 Jeep Gladiator? Yes, I will. I'm waiting for it to come, and then I'm going to do a special video on it. What are the differences between Toyota Sequoia and Land Cruiser? Sequoia is based on the Tundra, the pickup truck platform, and the Land Cruiser is shared platform with the LX 570, which is the big Lexus SUV. So one is based on an international platform and a Hilux platform, and then the other one, from what I believe, it's on the Hilux platform, and the other one is built on the Tundra pickup truck platform. So one is available with the V8, and the other one is available with the 6-cylinder if you get the Land Cruiser. But in the Lexus side, you can also get the V8. So, but you have to ask yourself, why do you need a body-on-frame truck? So that's what you need to ask. Do I need to have all of that capability? When you have a body-on-frame truck, you're carting around a lot of steel. It's heavy. It uses a lot more fuel. That's why all of car companies have moved towards these unibody designs. Just jumping around here a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. Will you be testing the VW Arteon anytime soon? There is a video I did with my buddy Brian Chow. We were in Germany last August, and we had a chance to drive the Arteon with Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen Canada sitting in the back seat. So go to the channel and type in Arteon. You will see a video of it. I like the Arteon a lot. It has basically the Golf R engine and drivetrain in a bigger car. It's a lot like my old car, which is the Audi A7. Beautifully done. I think it's a wonderful car. Is the Chevy Trailblazer coming soon? Yeah. Any plans coming back to United Arab Emirates? No plans. I'm sorry, I have to get invited. I don't go to United Arab Emirates all on my own. But yeah, when I was there with Audi, we were only there for 2 nights, so it was a very quick visit. But yeah, really cool to be there and to put it on the map. That was fun. Finally bought, this is from John, he says, finally bought an LX, a Honda Civic with a 2-liter and manual. Did a road trip from Ontario out east. Wow, are the Montreal roads rough? Loving the car. Well, that is right. If you want to have area in the world, probably Russian roads, some places be pretty bad too. But if you want to have like a place where you can test drive the suspension of a car, yeah, Quebec in the spring would be it. Frank says, what is your daily driver? Regular viewers of this channel know what I have. Let me just, I actually have a picture of it here. A Porsche Cayenne. So there you go. That's sort of the family vehicle. Oops, sorry. That's sort of the family vehicle. And I also have a little kick around Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. That's what I have as well. What are your thoughts on the 2018 Audi A6 previous generation with the V6 engine? This is the same engine found in the S4, but a lot less expensive due to cash incentive. Thanks. Just remember one thing. If there's money on the hood and they're giving you $15,000 off, there's a reason for that. What's the reason for that? Think about it. It's not a high demand car. So they have to move the vehicle by giving cash incentives. I bet you could get even more. I'll talk about Car Cost Canada in a moment and how you can do that. So what you have to remember is the reason why there's a discount on the car is because it's not moving. So you have to remember, if you're going to buy it, this is why I think maybe leasing it would be a better idea. If you're going to buy it, it's going to continue to depreciate. Mid-size to large cars, sedans, are really not what people are looking for these days, unfortunately. Like, when was the last time you saw a 7 Series BMW on the road or an Audi A8? Like S-Class you see more often because it's much more prestigious nameplate, but those big cars aren't selling, and the same thing for the mid-size cars. So go in with your eyes wide open and realize that when you buy it, it's also going to continue to depreciate. It is a great car. I prefer the interior for ergonomics and ease of use with that generation. The new one with all the screens might not be for everybody, which brings me to Car Cost Canada. So if you want to find out what the dealer paid for the car, so you can go online, it's free to sign up, and you can do a search for a 2018 Audi A6, whether it's a Prestige or Technic line, whatever it is, and find out what the dealer paid for the car. But you'll also find on there any hidden rebates, incentives. Maybe there's a first-time buyer special incentive. If you're a veteran, maybe there's a special incentive. All of these different things that car companies do, and there's sometimes secret money that isn't available to you as a regular consumer that the company gives the dealers to help move these cars. So yeah, $15,000 off the price of the car. There might be even more money. But yes, I agree with you. It's a great car. It will do everything you want. It handles well. It's got a nice interior. The engine's great. All those sorts of things. It's just not what people are banging down the door to buy, and that's why it's on sale. Hey, Zach, is the CRV coming up with hybrid soon in North America? I asked about that the last time I was with them, and I would suspect that what will happen is when the car is refreshed, it's been out now for a few years. When the car is getting a facelift and getting updated, that might be the time when they introduce a hybrid model, especially in light of the fact that the RAV4 hybrid is selling so well. The car is out and running on the road. I saw them at the Geneva Motor Show when I was there. There it is, the CRV hybrid. Why don't they bring it? So yeah, it's available. We'll have to wait and see. Eric says, Happy Victoria Day. What are your thoughts on run-flat tires? Is there such a thing as a run-flat snow tire? Yes, there are run-flat snow tires. Run-flat tires initially were kind of horrible. BMW and Cadillac have been using them. Better execution in the Cadillac ATS when I drove it. But BMW vehicles have had these run-flat tires for years, and loads of complaints about harshness, noise, and then replacements are very expensive if they ever get a puncture. So yeah, it's not all done for weight savings. So I drove the X5 this week. I lifted up the trunk. I looked inside. There's nothing there. They take the tire out. I personally would rather pay the fuel penalty to get the extra spare tire. I don't know. I understand why they do it. I just don't see the logic beyond the weight savings. I think to be better spent doing other things. Here's the thing. The tires have gotten much better. Like when you drive these BMW, the new ones now, it isn't as loud and raucous as it used to be. They certainly have come a long way. And yes, you can get winter tires. Is the new small Volkswagen SUV in China, I think it's called the Tharu, is it coming to North America? There were so many. So I was in China for the Shanghai Motor Show. I was a guest of Volkswagen. Check this out. They are all in on SUVs in the Chinese market. Just like North America, just like Europe, people are buying SUVs in huge numbers. In China, they introduced 6 SUVs, and by the end of next year, by the end of 2020, they'll have 6 more. They'll have 12 SUVs in the Chinese market, all differing shapes and sizes, some of them plug-ins. One is going to be a full electric vehicle. That's going to be like the ID Cross will be going in there to China, or something similar to that. And all kinds of little ones like the Nissan Kicks you might have seen, Volkswagens of similar size to that. So it is an opportunity for Volkswagen as a group to do the research and development for the Chinese market, because they can sell so many cars there, to now bring some of those cars to other parts of the world. One of them, I think, is certainly coming, is a vehicle that's about the size of the T-Roc. They haven't really heard whether the T-Roc name is coming with that particular car, if it's going to be one of these other new ones that they'll rebadge for the North American market. But they're all varying degrees of the same thing. They all kind of look similar. Ford announced some cuts today. Are any foreign automakers struggling, or are people not buying domestic? It's not so much that, Ford makes so much money and they sell so many F-150s. What's happening is, with the way the car companies are looking at it, with the car market fairly strong now, it's not as strong as it was, say, a year or two ago, but they're trying to right-size these companies for the chance that we could have a downturn in the economy. So in the United States, there hasn't been a recession since the Great Recession in 08-09. So here we are 10 years later, and typically recessions come in a 10-year pattern. That's usually the way it happens. So we've had this massive expansion over the last few years, with the likelihood that it's going to continue, because that recession was so bad that the expansion can go on for much longer. But there are worries with trade battles with the Chinese and the US, with the Chinese economy slowing down, that the world could head towards another recession. So these companies are trying to right size now, when they actually have some economic strength, for the likelihood that a recession is coming. We just don't know when. So they're trying to get ready for that. General Motors has stated this. They've shed white-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs. They've shuttered factories. They're trying to right-size their companies for the eventuality of changes in the marketplace. And other things to consider: they need money to electrify their car fleet. They need to do sharing with other brands. Ford has partnered with Volkswagen Group for building trucks and vans and some small vehicles. So those sorts of things are happening. These companies really, here's the thing, is people don't realize what it costs to make a new car. A new car costs over $1 billion of research and development engineering to get a car to marketplace. So when a car company has to create a new car, they need so much money. So that's why these companies are doing it. Do you know if the Golf GTE has a better range for kilometers than the e-Golf and the GTE coming to Canada? No news yet on the GTE. So that's like GTI. GTE is the electric version. It's basically like having a GTI but without the gas engine, similar kind of look, those sorts of things. So I think that, is this stopped now? What's going on with you? What's going on with the computer today? Let me just hit this. Hang on a second here. You guys are getting to witness all the technical problems. Let me start it again. There we go. Then I'll go to view and loop and view and full screen. There you go. Wow. Lights have gone out. So no word on the GTE coming to Canada, because we're waiting, as I mentioned earlier, the next generation of Volkswagen electric vehicles are coming, the ID cars. So they're not going to bring a GTE in for 1 or 2 years, because the next ones are coming. Hey Zach, 2019 Audi Q3 or Mini Countryman S. I think the new Q3, now a lot of you haven't seen it. I'm not sure when it's arriving. It's supposed to be arriving before July. So anytime now, the new Q3 is coming. Some of them I might have arrived at dealerships. I got an email from somebody who says he's getting his Audi e-tron in the next week or so. So the e-trons are starting to arrive, and the Q3 is supposed to arrive around the same time. When you see the Q3, I did a review on it. I was in Italy last fall, and I encourage you to go and watch the review of it. When you see the Q3, I think you're going to be impressed with it. They did a very good job with the styling. It's bigger. It's got a nicer interior, way nicer than the old Q3. I think it's going to be the one to beat in that class as just sort of the best all-rounder. So I think if it was me, I would probably get the Q3. Dave says, I have a 2018 340 xDrive M Sport 6-speed. Nice car. Sad to see no more manuals. All-wheel drive 3 Series. Drove a new 19 330 for a week and was very disappointed in interior quality, cheapened out compared to mine. Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes newer isn't always better. And hey, that's a great car. A 2018 340, that's the inline 6-cylinder, all-wheel drive M Sport manual transmission. Dude, keep that car. Like you said, you're not going to get a manual again, so keep that one. Thoughts on the new Hyundai Palisade? I am going to be driving the Palisade next month in June. I've got my airline ticket, so that's the Hyundai version of this vehicle, which is called Telluride from Kia. And if it's anything like that, it's going to be an absolute smash. The Kia Telluride is I had a hard time coming up with anything I didn't like about it. It is going to absolutely slay in the marketplace. You're going to see these things everywhere. And I think the Hyundai version is just a different take on the same formula. From what I understand, Kia's packaging might be a little bit better, like more features in the equipment list. Other than that, they have the same platform, same engine, same transmission. I also hear that Hyundai is going to make their suspension a little bit softer and this one a little bit sportier. I have to drive it. I'm getting a chance to drive it it, as I mentioned, next month. But yeah, that Telluride is fantastic. I've also heard stories that dealers can't get inventory and they're charging over list for a Kia. Who would have thought? So yeah, wait till you see it. When you see it on the road, you'll be impressed. Dave T, for example, he's going on about the 3 Series again. They replaced what are individual actual preset buttons in my car with a single piece of flimsy plastic. The whole thing wiggles, moves, and you press any of the preset buttons. Okay, there you go. I haven't driven it yet, so you have to wait. Previously owned a Corvette Grand Sport. Won't buy the C8 until 2 or 3 years, but sure, all possible issues are worked out. Porsche on my bucket list. Cayman S. Cayman S is a great car. If you can afford a 2009 newer Carrera S, now have a look. They are been holding their value because what happened in 2009, they added direct injection and the dual clutch PDK transmission. So that's something to consider. So Cayman S, if you can get one of the last of the flat 6 engines over the Turbo 4. I'm sure the Turbo 4 has more power, but for me, it's not the same driving experience. So yeah, a 2009 or newer 911 Carrera S would be a really nice car. I mean, that Corvette is going to, apparently they can't give away the current Corvette because everybody's waiting for the new mid-engine one to come out. So yeah, I think a lot of people are in the same situation. They're holding off to see what that car is all about. Martin says Ford Australia is struggling. Ranger and Mustang doing the heavy lifting. Different in Australia. Australia is so heavy into the ute market. So those are the sort of mid to small size pickup trucks. A lot of them don't have a bed on the back. They have like a custom bed on the back with the big rhubars on them. It's really cool when you go to Australia. You see so many of them there. And it's different than North America because Ford relies so much on their F-150 trucks. The new Expedition is a great truck. They did a really good job with that. Yeah, so if you're relying on Mustang sales for the Australian market, that's a pretty limited market because Mustangs are not what people are driving every day. Yeah, but the Ranger was sold just in Australia for a few years before they brought it here. Hey, Zach. Oh, by the way, I'm going on a special Ford Ranger event. They're having it here in Whistler, just north of where I am here in Vancouver. They're going to have some off-roading and stuff, so it'll be interesting. I'll be doing a video on that. Oh, by the way, just an FYI, Max Landy, my young English correspondent who lives in Alberta, is going to be here in Vancouver this week. We're going to catch up, go for lunch, and we're going to drive around in the new X7, and I'm just going to do a little Meet Max video. So stay tuned for that. So if it'll be kind of interesting to see what Max thinks. He's driven the Ranger too. Hi, Zach. What would you recommend between a 2015 Acura MDX, 2016 Honda Pilot, 2019 Kia Sorento to haul a family of 3 kids looking for reliability, engine efficiency, output, and long-term value? Okay, I'm trying to remember when they changed the MDX, what year it was. So MDX and Honda Pilot have been sister cars for a long time. The MDX uses or recommends premium fuel. The Honda Pilot does not. You lose 10 horsepower. It's available with a 9 or a 6-speed automatic. I encourage you, whether you're looking at the MDX, the older MDX, or the newer Pilot, try and find one with the 6-speed instead of the 9-speed. Those early applications of the 9-speed were terrible. The ones I've driven lately have been fine, but those early iterations, steer clear and try and find that 6-speed. There's nothing wrong with the Kia Sorento. All of these will move your family around. Looking for reliability, engine efficiency, output, and long-term value, I think probably you'd be best served to look at probably the Honda Pilot for resale value in the long run. And please do yourself a favor and also look at the Toyota Highlander. The Toyota Highlander is another product that will do all of those things perfectly well and great resale value. And you're probably looking in the used market and saying, geez, these things are expensive. Why are they holding their value? Because, excuse me, people line up for these in the used market. So just keep that in mind. Try that vehicle out. You might surprise yourself. Now, probably the best all-rounder is the Pilot. What is the best mid-size 5-seater sport SUV under $40,000 in Canada? Mid-size 5-seater. Well, you're looking at Ford Edge. You're looking at Grand Cherokee. You're looking at Murano. The new Passport is not under $40,000. and I'm missing one, the Blazer as well. Best 5-seater sport utility under 40,000 in Canada. I'm going to say Grand Cherokee. If you can get one for under 40,000, I'd say Grand Cherokee. Which is better overall, the Leaf or the Prius Prime? These are two different applications of what you're trying to accomplish. One is a plug-in hybrid that gives you a short range of pure electric, and then the very efficient Toyota hybrid system. Or a full electric car with range of 200 plus kilometers. So do you really want to have a pure electric car, or do you want to have the flexibility? I have been saying in a lot of my last shows, a lot of people, if you're wanting to move towards a new technology car, there is no rush. Time is on your side. There are going to be so many new electrified vehicles coming into the marketplace. If I was really jazzed by this and I really wanted to get a plug-in car and get something that's electrified, right now I wouldn't be buying an electric car. I would be buying a hybrid, just a good old hybrid like a Toyota Prius. And if I wanted to go that next step, I would get the plug-in Prius Prime and probably lease it for 2 years. So you've got that feel-good factor of plugging it in, using electricity for most of your commuting, having the range if you need it, getting amazing fuel economy. And after the 2-year lease is up, there are going to be so many new entries into the marketplace, lots of them. So if it was me, I would get a Prius Prime and lease it for 2 years, and in a couple of years there's going to be so many more new vehicles. Like the ID family from Volkswagen will be in the marketplace. General Motors is going to have more new electrified products. There's going to be lots more to choose from. That's just my personal take on it. By the way, in the Canadian marketplace, you can get a Prius Prime for $32,000. Okay, so you do get rebates on that car, not the full amount, depending on where you live in Canada, but you do get a rebate on it. That's a lot of car for the money, and these things hold their value. Still in the market, you get a Toyota RAV4 hybrid, but finance interest is so high right now. I tell you why, because they just arrived at dealerships in April. They don't need to discount the interest rate. They don't need to give any incentives. They don't need to give you anything, because if you want it, you got to buy it. What they do is they give you the discounted interest rates. They give you $1,000 off. They give you, free floor mats and all that when the car's been out for a while. It just came out. It's only been out for a month. Why would Toyota give you a deal? They don't need to give you a deal. So they're not going to. There you go. That's the reason why. Would you buy the BMW X5 over the GLE? I like the GLE, but I found the suspension too soft for my taste. The X5, in my review, it just went up on Saturday morning, is kind of like the Goldilocks. It does everything just right. The suspension for me is a big one. I'm somebody that likes to feel the road. I like the handling. The other thing is the inline 6-cylinder that's in that, the 335 horsepower engine, is fantastic. And they have worked out the transmission shifting points on that to perfection. The GLE is fantastic too. It's got the more powerful inline 6-cylinder, but it's their new inline 6-cylinder. This thing is like polishing a diamond. You can tell they never stopped making that engine. They've been doing it so well for so many years, and it is just fantastic. The interesting thing is the X5 and the Porsche Cayenne, the base model Cayenne, have exactly the same horsepower, 335 horsepower. When you drive that X5 compared to the Porsche Cayenne base model, this feels much more dynamic in terms of the way the engine delivery is, the power. And I just drove the new Cayenne a few weeks ago, and I was in Toronto for a drive event with Panamera. They gave me a Cayenne for the day, so I'm very familiar with it. But based between the GLE and the X5, for me, I found the Mercedes a little too softly sprung for my tastes. One of the problems is, with both of the cars I drove, this X5 and the GLE, they were equipped with air suspension. I don't like air suspension in SUVs. I would get it with just the passive springs and shocks. So unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to drive the base spring and shock setup in the GLE, only the air suspension. Question for you Canadians and Americans. Do your gas prices go on a price cycle, low and then huge jump and a steady drop? No, in British Columbia, they're just high all the time. It's crazy. So people who are not on the West Coast probably wonder, why is fuel so expensive on the West Coast? Well, we have a couple of things. Taxes, we all know we pay taxes. the pipeline issue, we have to get a new pipeline built to get more capacity to the West Coast. And the big one is refining capacity. Do you know when the last refinery was built in Canada? Do you know when that was? It was the 1970s. So the problem is nobody wants a refinery in their backyard. Hey, I get that. But I'm sure we could put a refinery in the middle of nowhere, somewhere, and get more refining capacity. We just can't. It's a supply and demand. You can't make enough fuel, the price goes up. That's why it's so expensive. Is the 2019 Miata, the MX-5, worth the $10,000 premium over the 16 to 18 Miatas? Absolutely not. No, no, no. Just get a used one. Because it's the same car. In your opinion, what is the timeline for autonomous vehicles? Do you believe what industry execs say? A very interesting question. So at the Mercedes-Benz EQC in Norway, sitting right next to me is the person that's in charge of all of the public relations for the autonomous systems that are in Mercedes-Benz product. And we had a really heated conversation about autonomous vehicles. And their take on it, I'm basically paraphrasing what he said, is that they don't believe that, walking out to your car, starting it, and it driving you where you need to go is going to be happening anytime soon. What is going to happen is the aids that we have in the cars today is going to expand more and more and more. So those situations where it's the most mundane, boring, bumper to bumper traffic, you're going to be able to turn the car on to its autonomous mode. It's going to do all the boring driving for you. You're going to be able to sit back, hands off the wheel, read, maybe the news on the screen, or make some calls, or, fight with your wife on the phone, whatever it is. So that is going to expand. There's going to be more capability for the vehicle to do more of that boring driving. But the driver is still going to be involved in a lot of the daily commuting. What they believe at Daimler in Mercedes is that we're probably going to see zones in city centers that are for low-speed, fully autonomous vehicles to do short trips. Like you'll have a zone in, say, downtown Austin, Texas, for example, and that area is going to have all of these little sort of drone cars that go around, and you're going to be able to hail one here and drive you 5 minutes and drop you off, and the next person will get into it. So these areas will probably start off as small test areas, and then eventually they'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. But these are probably going to be for lower speed, 50 kilometers an hour and lower in city urban areas. Yeah, that's what they believe. I'm paraphrasing. So the fully autonomous car, we had a long discussion about Tesla. I'm always an advocate for Cadillac Super Cruise. I say to every brand that I'm in contact with, whether it's Porsche, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, whomever it is, I say, have you tried Cadillac Super Cruise system? And almost all of them say no, or nein. And I say, you owe it to yourself to drive it because it is so good. And I think that the interesting thing is General Motors bought a company called Cruise, and their autonomous abilities at General Motors, I think, are some of the best. Also, Infiniti Nissan has got some really powerful stuff they're working on as well. So yeah, we're going to see more of this, of the daily commute taken over by autonomous if you want it to. If you don't, you just don't turn it on. That's, I think, where we're going. That's a long answer. Sorry about that. BMW X5 or Q7, which one would you buy? I think I just answered that. I think the X5. I do like the Q8. That's a good looking car. I just think it needs more power. 335 horsepower, I think it needs more. Also, A-Class versus A3, asking in terms of daily highway commuting. I think that the A3 is getting kind of long in the tooth now. There's going to be a new Golf announced within the next 12 months, probably within the next 8 months. There's going to be a new Volkswagen Golf. And the A3 is the only car in the Audi family that is based on the Volkswagen Golf or the MQB platform. So Golf and A3 will be coming around the same time, and that is imminent within the next year. So you're talking about a brand new model, which is the new A-Class or the CLA, which is similar, versus an older model. There's nothing wrong with the A3 at all. There's really nothing. It's a great car. But I think if you want the newest and the latest, the A-Class is very good. Now, I drove the CLA, and I was mightily impressed with how they've been able to take their budget Mercedes-Benz and no longer have it the budget Mercedes-Benz. These entry-level Mercedes that came out over the last 5 or so years, the CLA, the GLA, and what have you, those felt less expensive than what you would call the proper Mercedes-Benz. Now when you drive them, they do not. They feel like the real deal distilled down to the smallest form. That's my best answer for you. Go drive one, see if you like it. Hey Zach, I'm wanting to buy between a 2019 Mazda 3, so Mazda 3 all-wheel drive, or Subaru Impreza, or Crosstrek, also 2019. What would you get? Well, if you're just looking at straight power, the Mazda is the clear winner because those other two cars have, in my opinion, the Impreza or the Crosstrek, which are the same car except one has more cladding on it and a little bit higher. A bit anemic power plants with the continuously variable transmission. You're going to get a Mazda 3 all-wheel drive, and you're getting the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, all-wheel drive, and a true automatic transmission versus, in my opinion, an underpowered car with a CVT. I think you can read between the lines. I think the Mazda 3 is going to be, for most people, a pretty compelling package just on the fact that it has the more powerful engine. Land Cruiser versus Escalade reliability. That's easy. Toyota Land Cruiser all day long. They're built like a tank. They haven't changed them in forever. So when you don't change something forever and you just keep making it the same way, they know how to make it. Mac Daddy again. Hey, what do you recommend? Vehicle that's not so expensive, mid-sized car, fast but decent fuel economy, reliability, a couple years old, a lot, but yeah. Thanks, Zach. I think, Mac Daddy, were you asking about the A6 earlier? I think, yeah, there's lots of mid-size to larger cars that are out there in the marketplace, in the used marketplace, that are going to be less expensive because people aren't shopping for sedans. They're all rushing towards utility vehicles. This opens up an opportunity for you to get one and get a deal on one. But as I mentioned earlier, that downward trajectory of depreciation doesn't stop when you buy it. It keeps going. So be fully prepared that if you're going to buy a car that's 2 or 3 years old and it's like less than half of what it was brand new, well, that glide path continues for depreciation. Oh, sorry about that. It's jumping around again. Oh, there's lots of questions here. Let me get through here. Which one do you like more, X3 or the Stelvio? Thanks. I think that one of the issues a lot of people have about the Stelvio is the reliability. I love the inline 6-cylinder. If you're talking about the M40 engine, that inline 6-cylinder that's in the X3, that is really kind of like the sweet spot. So yeah, the X5 has it, but you want a smaller form factor. By the way, the current X3 is bigger than the original X5. Think about that. The X5 came out around 2000. The current X3 is bigger than that original X5, and that inline 6-cylinder is like, it will not disappoint you. Trust me, it's one of the best engines ever made. So yeah. Just curious, is that the 737 MAX 8 on your desk? No, because if it was, it would be doing this. No, that's terrible. Is that too soon? No, this is a 787 Dreamliner. They give you that when you fly 1 million miles, and I have with Air Canada. I'm almost at 1.2 million now. I bought a 2019 Jetta. I recently took my car to the dealership due to low oil warning. It's not due for its first oil change for a few months. Is this common for Volkswagens to burn oil? This is something you want to monitor. I probably not too worried about it. Here's one thing a lot of people don't realize, and this is a mistake that some people can make. When they put the first oil in when the car is brand new, they actually, this is coming from a master technician who told me this, and I didn't believe it, but he says it's true. So a lot of people go, oh, this has got like 1,000 miles on my car, I'm going to change my oil. It's brand new, I want to save the engine. You don't want to do that because they actually put an additive into the oil that, believe it or not, has micro grit in it. And why would you do that? Because you have to get the pistons to seat inside the cylinder walls. So they actually marry. You know, I have a male and female, right? So they have to seat perfectly in the, and so what you need is you need a little bit of that microfine grit to help the the piston seat into the engine. Now, could they have maybe not put the right amount of oil in the car? That could have happened. I mean, it's easy for a mistake like that to happen when you got the car, maybe the oil wasn't fully filled up. Keep an eye on it. Get the oil topped up and watch it over the next couple of months and see what happens. Right now, I wouldn't worry about it. Do you know where the Hyundai Kona 1.6T is made? I believe it's made in Korea, from what I understand. Will there be another video starring Andrea? The female co-host of the show is amazing. She is so pretty, cool, and classy. Well, I'll tell her. She's right upstairs. That's my wife. So, yes, Andrea. Of course, Andrea will be back. Have you reviewed the 2019 Audi A7? I did a review. I went to the launch of the Audi A7 in South Africa, so I got a chance to drive it a long time before it was available here in North America, but the car is exactly the same. So go back to the channel, do a search for Audi A7. There is a video there. Thoughts on the 2019 C300 4MATIC? Is it worth upgrading from my 2013? What just came out? What just came out? A new BMW 3 Series. Who is BMW's biggest rival? Mercedes-Benz. So do you think there's going to be a new C-Class coming or a heavily updated one? Oh, you betcha. So I would say hold on to your 2013 right now. And what I would do is when we get some information, so here's what's coming. What's the next major auto show? Frankfurt is coming up in September. Mercedes-Benz, if they're going to introduce a new C-Class, it'll be at Frankfurt. So it's a pretty good guess that they're going to show the car then. If they are going to show it, it'll be then. So you have an opportunity at that point to say, okay, do I want to wait and get the new 2020 or 21, whatever it's going to be called, or do I want to get the one that's still available today? The one that's still available today, you're going to get a better deal on it. You might get better lease rates. You might get reduced interest rates, all those sorts of things. You can search at Car Cost Canada. But yeah, that's what you want to do. Either wait for the all-new one or consider getting a deal on the current one. Or what I would do is just drive your 13 until we find out. What's the latest news on U.S. tariffs against other countries? Does it affect car prices in Canada, a good way or a bad way? There's no news on car prices from the U.S. What was just announced, if you're not aware, is that the United States, Mexico, and Canada, basically Donald Trump dropped the steel and aluminum tariffs of 25% on steel, 10% on aluminum, which is good news because a lot of cars are made in Canada. Toyota RAV4 is made in Canada. Honda CR-V is made in Canada. Honda Civic's made in Canada. What else is made? The Lexus RX, the best seller from Lexus, is made in Canada. So they were paying more for steel, and at some time that price would have had to be transferred through to the customer. But that's good. That's been averted. But no, in Canada we have a new trade agreement with Korea. So cars come in from Korea with no duty. We have a new Trans-Pacific partnership, so cars will be coming into Canada from Japan with no duty. And we have a new European trade agreement, so Canada will be getting cars in from Europe with no duty. Until those trade agreements were signed, we had a 6.1% duty in Canada for any cars coming in outside of North America. So if you bought an F-150 that was made in the United States, it came across the border with no duty. So these other tariffs are falling away, which is what a lot of people that are opposed to Donald Trump's view of the world are saying. Hey, listen, countries like Canada actually has signed more free trade agreements than any other country in the world over the last 10 years or so. Most of them were designed by the previous conservative government. The Trans-Pacific Partnership was negotiated under them. So was the European Trade Agreement, but NAFTA was not. So there you go. And the thing is, I don't think NAFTA is going to pass. I think it's going to get held up because we have a new Congress in the United States, and they're going to want to make changes to it. So there's where we are. Is that a long answer? Hey, Zach, almost every vehicle that's sold these days seems to have won some sort of award-winning this and that marketing. Which of these awards is actually worthy of recognition? I would say, go with the ones you've really heard of. A Motor Trend Car of the Year, Car and Drivers Top 10 list, North American Car, Truck, and SUV of the Year, Canadian Car of the Year, Automobile Journalists Association of Canada award winners. And then I would say like the J.D. Power Award is a very strong brand recognition for things like quality. So those are the sorts of ones that I would pay attention to. And what you want to do is you want to look at reviews of cars and see how many awards a certain vehicle has won. Okay, so there you go. Sometimes these awards are for style and design and not so much for reliability and those sorts of things. We have a 2013 C250. It's pretty cheap. The 19s are light years better than the old cars. I think we're going back to that wait for the new C-Class or not. What are your thoughts on the new Prius all-wheel drive version and the all-wheel drive system good enough to make a difference in our snowy winters? If I was buying a Prius, I think it's $1,000 more to get the all-wheel drive. It's a no-brainer, and it's a small electric motor that's at the back. It's independent of the drivetrain at the front. There's no drive shaft. It's just a smaller electric motor, and it's along for the ride for most of the time and only switches on and distributes torque to the rear wheels when really slippery conditions are around. So this isn't something that's going to be active all the time, okay? It's there for extra traction when you really need it. So it's $1,000 more. It's going to give you another layer of comfort for driving in winter conditions. It's not going to be like driving a Subaru Forester through snowy conditions. Get that out of your head. It's there as an electric assist for the rear wheels. And the reason that it's not going on that much is because what's a Prius designed for? Ultimate fuel efficiency. So it's still going to use the front engine hybrid system majority of the time and the small engines along for the ride. So electric motor, I should say. So there you go. That's my take on it. But if you're thinking of getting a Prius for $1,000, hell yeah. And what are people going to be looking for 3-4 years down the road when they're all for sale? A front wheel drive one or an all wheel drive one? They're going to be looking for an all wheel drive one. So spend the money. Sorry, I'm just trying to read some of this because we're running out of time. Recently purchased an 18 BMW X3 dealer demo and asked if they would CPO the car for me, and they did. Wouldn't have known about it if you hadn't mentioned it. So thank you. Awesome. I'm so glad. So let me find my book. You know what's interesting? I have this book I wrote years ago. You guys are getting a master tour of my office. Oh, where is it? Anyway, I don't know where my book is. Anyway, I wrote a book. And that was one of the tips I put in there. When you're going to shop for a car, especially a higher end car like that, and you want to get a deal on it, where is it? I'll dig it out another time. Ask them, do you have a demo? Because every salesperson has a demo they drive, and they're all for sale. And the thing is, once the vehicle has been registered on the road, you're not going to pay the freight, okay? So in some instances, it can be a couple $1,000s on a BMW in Canada. It can be over $2,000. So you're saving the freight and the PDI. And now that it's a used car, even if it might only be a month old, it qualifies for a certified pre-owned warranty, which takes the warranty to 6 years. So there you go. I'm glad I helped. Good for you. Another question on economics. What do you think the implications are for the Canadian auto industry in regards to the current U.S.-China trade spat? I don't think it's going to be that bad because most of our trade in Canada is under the sort of existing NAFTA rules. The new U.S., Canada, Mexico trade agreement hasn't been ratified in the three countries. So we're working under the old NAFTA rules as they currently stand. And the thing is that the vast majority of the cars that we buy are built in the NAFTA zone. So the mainline cars from import brands like Mercedes-Benz and BMW are built in the United States. RAV4s and CRVs and all of these vehicles and the Rogues and the Ultimas and the Maximas and it goes on and on and on are all built inside that NAFTA zone. So yeah, there might be some implications for some import brands into the US market. But if you're really worried about that, then you want to look for cars that are made in the NAFTA zone, and majority of them are. I wouldn't even worry about it. What you need to worry about is if there is an economic slowdown caused by these trade rifts, for the long-term implications and for the globe. Like I said earlier, we have cycles of economics, growth and expansion and contraction. This could trigger some contraction in the long run. What time have we got here? Oh, we're up to almost an hour. So I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. It's always nice that you're here. I moved it to the Monday because it's a holiday today. I had Mother's Day, traveling, family barbecues. It's tough to do on a Sunday, and I'm going to have to really decide as we head into the summer months if the weekends are going to be the best time to do it. Monday might be the better day moving forward. I will not be here next week. I'm going to Austria. I'm going to drive the new Porsche Cayenne Coupe, so I'll have a report on that. Make sure you go and watch the video review I did of the Telluride, of the new X5, the new CLA, the Mercedes EQC. All of them are recent and on the channel, and I would appreciate it if you could support the channel and tell your friends. I've been getting a lot of very nice comments on the videos I've been doing lately saying, Zach, you're good at what you do. We appreciate you. How come you don't have more subscribers? I don't know. I just do the best I can. Maybe you can tell me why. But thanks to everybody that watches. I really do appreciate it. And I will speak to you probably 2 weeks from now. Have an amazing rest of your long weekend in Canada. And those in the U.S., enjoy your long weekend next weekend. See you then.